All right, folks, buckle up. We're about to go deep on some serious business advice from a guy who's built 19 companies and invested in like 78 startups.
Yeah, this dude's a straight-up business ninja.
No joke. We're talking decades of experience condensed into pure, unadulterated wisdom. And get this, his playbook isn't the usual go to business school, get an MBA crap.
Totally. He throws that out the window, man.
So we're breaking down his secrets in this deep dive. Everything from starting a business with zero cash
To, like, scaling it to the moon.
and even maybe cashing out big time.
This entrepreneur, he's all about flipping the script on traditional business advice. Like, take his first company, Fluid.
A creative agency, right.
Right. And there are already, like, 500 competitors in that market.
So he didn't find some like magic gap in the market.
Yep. He just went all in on his passion, man.
Okay, so marketing is his jam.
Totally obsessed with it. And the cool thing is, he found a partner who could, like, bring his ideas to life visually.
So they were like the perfect business match.
Total yin and yang, man. They went 50-50 on Fluid, each bringing their A game to the table.
It's like they completed each other's superpowers, you know?
Yeah. And it's a huge lesson for all of us. You don't have to be a master of everything in business. Find people who rock at what you suck at and team up.
So first rule of business, find your passion, grab a partner who fills your gaps, and just go for it. But hold on, how do you actually get started?
This guy, he's all about ditching those stuffy business plans.
The ones that are like a million pages long and collect dust on a shelf?
Exactly. He's all about starting simple, man. Get your idea out there, even if it's just a podcast, a blog, some social media action.
That's how he started.
Yep. Build an audience first, figure out the rest later.
That's smart. Test the waters, see if people are digging what you're putting out there. But eventually, you got to make some money, right?
Oh, absolutely. He's big on finding a solid revenue model.
But it doesn't have to be perfect right away.
Nope. He says it can evolve as you go, as you learn what works and what doesn't. He even uses Airbnb as an example.
Those guys are killing it. But how do they even start?
Get this. They funded their early growth by selling frickin' cereal boxes at conventions.
Wait, what? Cereal boxes?
Yeah, dude. They were hustling, figuring out ways to keep the lights on while they were building this massive platform.
So it's all about being scrappy and creative in those early days. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Okay, so you've got the passion, you found your partner in crime, you're starting to bring in some cash. What's the secret sauce to really winning at this crazy game of business?
This entrepreneur, he's got some strong opinions about this. Forget instant gratification, man.
No get-rich-quick schemes here.
Hell no. It's all about playing the long game, building a company culture that's all about your customers, and get this, hacking luck.
Hacking luck. All right, I'm intrigued. Break it down for us.
He believes you create your own luck. It's about being persistent, knowing exactly where you want to go.
And not being afraid to take some risks.
Calculated risks.
Yeah.
He's not talking about being reckless.
Okay, so it's more about like seizing opportunities and being prepared when they pop up.
Exactly. Think about Facebook or Instagram, man. They built massive user bases before they even thought about making a dime.
They were playing the long game, focusing on building something amazing first.
And it paid off big time. It takes guts to delay gratification like that, especially in a world that's all about instant everything.
But it's a powerful lesson in building something truly sustainable, something that lasts.
Okay, now get ready for this. This guy is a huge advocate for embracing failure.
Wait, what? Isn't failure like the ultimate business taboo?
He flips the script on that too. He thinks learning to lose is essential for success.
Okay, that's some next level thinking right there. Break it down for us. How can failing be a good thing?
He calls it de-student thinking.
So like the opposite of being an overachiever?
Exactly. It's about taking your time, not stressing about what everyone else thinks, and learning from your screw-ups. He even talks about losing £1 million on a comic book business.
£1 million?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, but he sees it as a valuable lesson on his road to success.
So it's all about like picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and using those failures to fuel your growth.
He believes each failure is a chance to level up, man. You got to be willing to experiment, take some risks, and know that not everything's going to work out perfectly.
Okay, I'm digging this D-student mentality. So we've got passion, execution, a healthy dose of resilience. But how do you organize all of this? Traditional business plans can be so rigid and, frankly, boring.
He hates those things, man. He's all about mind mapping. It's way more dynamic and visual, perfect for brainstorming and planning. He actually walks us through his mind map for free humanity.
That's his platform for free business mentorship, right?
Yep. And the cool thing about a mind map is it starts with your core passion.
In his case, helping people break free and do what they love.
Exactly. And then it branches out to different areas of the business, kind of like a tree.
So the core passion is the trunk, and the branches represent all the different aspects of the business. I like that.
You got branches for revenue streams, team building, expansion ideas. Everything is connected visually.
And the best part is it can evolve as your business grows and the world changes. It's not set in stone like a traditional business plan.
Exactly. It's a living, breathing document, man.
Okay, so we've got the passion, the execution, the resilience, and a plan that's actually fun to create. But what's the driving force behind all of this? What keeps you going when the going gets tough?
He's crystal clear about this. Purpose, man.
So it's not just about making money.
Money's cool, but it's not enough to sustain you through the tough times. You gotta have a deeper reason for doing what you're doing.
So how do you find this magical thing called purpose?
It takes some soul searching, for sure. Ask yourself, what do I truly enjoy? What pisses me off about the world that I want to fix? How can I make a damn difference?
Align your passion with something bigger than yourself, something that makes the world a better place.
He talks about finding your tribe, people who share your passion and want to join forces to create something epic.
It's like building a movement, not just a business.
Exactly. Now, let's get real for a second. You probably can't build an empire all by yourself.
Even superheroes need sidekicks, right?
He actually compares finding a co-founder to finding a life partner.
Whoa, a business life partner. That's intense.
It is. You're going to be spending a ton of time with this person, making big decisions, going through all the ups and downs of building a business together.
So shared values and skills that complement each other are non-negotiable.
Absolutely. You got to be able to trust this person, respect their opinions, and know that you're both in it for the long haul.
So how do you find this business soulmate? What's the secret?
He's got some pretty specific advice for this. It starts with brutal honesty about yourself. What do you love to do? What do you hate doing? What are your core values? The things you're absolutely not willing to compromise on.
So basically, know yourself inside and out before you even start looking for a partner.
Then you can start figuring out what your ideal co-founder looks like. He even suggests writing it down. Personality traits, skills, even physical attributes, the whole 9 yards.
It's like creating a dating profile, but for your business partner.
He takes it even further with something he calls the moral code test.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this moral code test.
Imagine you live an amazing life for the next 40 years. Wealth, success, everything you ever wanted. But at the end of it, everyone finds out you achieved it all by doing some shady shit. Would you trade those 40 years for a lifetime of guilt?
Damn, that's a tough one. Really makes you think about what you're willing to do to achieve success.
It's about building a business with integrity, man, not just chasing the money at any cost.
All right, so you've defined your values. You know what you're looking for in a partner. How do you actually find this person?
Network your ass off. Go to industry events, connect with people online, put yourself out there.
Your business soulmate is out there somewhere. You just got to find them. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What about sales, marketing, PR, all that jazz?
Our entrepreneur, he's got a ton of experience in these areas, and he's all about unconventional approaches. For sales, for example, he's big on selling the sizzle, not the steak.
Okay, I like that analogy. What's he getting at?
It's about focusing on the benefits and the emotional connection, not just listing features and prices.
It's like Steve Jobs with Apple, right? He didn't just sell gadgets, he sold a vision, a lifestyle.
Exactly. And he's a huge advocate for building long-term relationships with your customers, not just closing quick deals.
It's about building trust, loyalty, creating a community around your brand.
And when it comes to marketing, he's all about understanding your customer deeply, finding your niche, and then expanding outward. He calls it staircase marketing.
Staircase marketing? I've never heard of that. Tell me more.
He actually bought a random staircase that was for sale in London.
He bought
a staircase. It was this quirky, attention-grabbing stunt that got him featured in major media outlets all over the world.
Okay, that's pretty wild.
He turned it into a symbol of his brand, this physical representation of the step-by-step journey to success. He even put a doorbell on it and encouraged people to pitch their dreams, which created even more buzz.
So it's about finding creative, unexpected ways to stand out from the crowd.
You're right.
Make people remember you.
And he eventually got Amazon to sponsor the staircase and the doorbell.
Now that's smart marketing.
Okay.
Let's talk PR. How do you get the press to pay attention to you?
He's big on being strategic with PR. It's not just about getting your name out there, it's about reaching the right people for the right reasons.
So no more spamming journalists with generic press releases.
He's all about crafting compelling stories that are tailored to specific journalists. He'll even provide them with high-resolution photos and pre-written headlines.
He's making their lives easier, which I'm sure they appreciate.
He also recommends building relationships with journalists through social media, engaging with their content, becoming a valuable resource for them.
It's all about building genuine connections and providing value. Makes sense. Okay, let's talk funding. How do you convince investors to give you their hard-earned cash?
This dude, he's been on both sides of the table as an investor and a founder. Remember, he's invested in 78 startups.
True. So he knows the game inside and out. What's his secret?
He's all about being strategic with your fundraising, man. Don't just chase any investor who's willing to cut you a check.
Make sure they're the right fit, aligned with your vision.
He suggests starting with your own network, family, friends, friends of friends.
People who already know, like, and trust you.
Exactly, but be transparent with them about the risks involved.
Don't burn bridges with the people you're closest to.
He also recommends looking within your own team for potential investors.
Wait, what? Your own team?
He uses the example of trying to build a competitor to LinkedIn. Instead of settling for a mediocre team, he suggests going after the top talent, even if they're working for the competition.
Poach the best people and get them to invest. Bold move.
Offer them equity, the chance to be part of something groundbreaking. It's a win-win. You get a killer team, and they get a piece of the pie.
All right, what about those elusive angel investors? How do you get on their radar?
He's got some unconventional advice for that, too. Instead of pitching your business, ask for help.
Seriously. Don't ask for money, ask for advice.
He says the best investors want to feel like they're adding value, not just writing checks.
Play to their ego, make them feel like they're part of something special.
And it creates a sense of FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Smart. Okay, what about venture capitalists? Those are the big leagues.
He's got insights into the VC world, too. First off, don't waste your time pitching to firms that are currently fundraising themselves.
You won't have any cash to splash around.
Yeah. Nope. You can usually find this info online. Just Google them, check their website, look at industry news.
Do your research.
Also, research their portfolio companies. See if they've invested in businesses similar to yours.
So you can see if there are any conflicts of interest or if they're already backing your competition.
Exactly. And warm introductions are key.
Networking again. It's all about who you know.
He also recommends partnering with clients or brands to fund growth.
Wait, clients as investors?
He tells this story about a client who wanted his agency to expand into the Middle East. He was hesitant, but the client offered to fund the entire expansion.
Talk about a sweet deal.
It was. The client got the services they needed, and the agency grew without risking its own capital.
Be open to creative partnerships, folks. And don't be afraid to negotiate. What about crowdfunding? That's become pretty popular.
He's a fan. It's a great way to test the market and raise capital without giving away equity.
Lots of different platforms out there these days.
Yep. Do your research and pick the one that works for your business.
Okay, let's talk sponsorships. Getting a big name sponsor can be a game changer, not just financially, but for your brand too. But how do you land those sweet deals?
This entrepreneur breaks down what motivates brands to sponsor businesses. First and foremost, they want to see a clear return on their investment.
Show them the value, the numbers, the impact.
But it's not just about the cold, hard data. Brands also make decisions based on emotions.
Emotions, really.
He uses the example of big corporations sponsoring small, local sports teams. Sometimes it's just because the CEO has a personal connection to the team or community.
It's about tapping into that human side of business.
Understand the brand's values and make sure your pitch aligns with what they care about.
Show them why sponsoring your business would be a win for them and their image.
He even tells this funny story about trying to sell coaster ads to a high-end jewelry company.
Coaster ads? That doesn't sound very glamorous.
He totally missed the mark.
Lesson learned. Know your audience, people.
He also recommends leveraging existing relationships that the brand might already have.
So don't go straight to the brand. Connect with their media buyers or agencies.
Exactly. They're the ones holding the purse strings.
All right, let's talk brand building.
He believes a strong brand starts with your personal brand.
So figure out your own values, mission, and what makes you unique.
Then translate that into your business. Think about how people perceive you, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are.
And be honest. No point in pretending to be someone you're not.
He actually uses his own personal brand as an example.
Oh, so it's all about being like him now.
Nah, He's just saying, build a personal brand that's authentic to you. He built his around honesty, purpose, and leadership, and he's brought those same values to his companies. But remember, it takes time and consistency.
Okay, so how do you actually build a strong personal brand? Any tips?
Be clear about your values, your non-negotiables. Define your own rules of engagement.
Don't be afraid to stand out.
Embrace your quirks, your unique perspective. That's what makes you memorable. Okay, once you've got your personal brand nailed down, how do you translate that into a company brand?
That's the tricky part, right?
He uses HelpBank as an example.
That's his free platform for business advice, right?
Yep. HelpBank's brand incorporates a lot of his personal brand values, like honesty, openness, providing value.
But it's also a bit more serious.
For sure. It's dealing with people's finances, their dreams. So the brand needs to reflect that trust and credibility.
It's all about finding that balance. Okay, so we've covered personal brands, company brands, but what about building a brand at scale?
He's got two main approaches for that.
Let's hear them.
The first is the reference model.
Reference model. What's that all about?
It's about leveraging the influence of external figures to boost your brand. Think about Canon. They partner with popular photographers.
So Canon gets credibility from the photographers, and the photographers get exposure from Canon.
Exactly. It's a win-win. Nike does the same thing with athletes.
What's the other model?
The leadership model.
Okay, tell me more.
This is where the leader of the company becomes the face and voice of the brand. Think Steve Jobs and Apple.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was Apple.
But there are risks with both models. With the reference model, if your partner does something stupid,
Like a celebrity spokesperson who has a public meltdown.
it can hurt your brand big time. And with the leadership model, if the leader leaves or, passes away, it can create a void that's hard to fill.
It's like when Apple lost Steve Jobs. Tough shoes to fill.
He stresses having a solid succession plan in place just in case.
Choose your approach wisely. Be prepared to adapt.
Last piece of advice on brand building, learn to say no.
Say no to what?
Partnerships, clients, opportunities that don't align with your brand's values.
Don't compromise your integrity for a quick buck.
Your brand is your most valuable asset, man. Protect it.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground, but there's more to come. We'll be back in the next part of this deep dive to explore even more of this entrepreneurial genius's insights.
So let's talk about building your A-team.
Yeah, because you can't build a freaking empire all by yourself.
This guy's got some seriously killer insights on hiring, growth.
And creating a company culture that doesn't suck.
Let's start with hiring.
Okay, what's his philosophy? Is he all about, like, Ivy League degrees and fancy resumes?
Nope. He's all about purpose-driven hiring.
Purpose-driven hiring. What's that mean?
It means finding people who are totally on board with your mission, your values, the whole shebang.
So it's not just about skills, it's about finding people who are genuinely passionate about what you're doing.
Exactly. If you can attract people who believe in your purpose, they'll be self-motivated, dedicated.
Basically, they'll become part of your tribe.
Yeah, and that's how you build a team that's unstoppable.
But how do you know if someone's really aligned with your purpose during an interview?
Do your homework.
Stalk them on social media.
Well, yeah, kinda. Check out their social media, to talk to their references, get a feel for who they are, what they're into.
So don't just take their word for it, right?
No.
Look beyond the polished resume and the rehearsed answers.
He's also a huge believer in offering equity to employees.
Equity? Isn't that usually just for, like, founders and investors?
Traditionally, yeah. But he says giving employees a stake in the company makes them feel like owners.
Gives them skin in the game.
Exactly. They're more invested in the success of the business.
It's like they become mini entrepreneurs within the company.
Yep. And it can help reduce turnover and build a seriously loyal team.
Okay, let's talk about growth. Scaling a business, how do you do it without, losing your soul?
He says, first, define your destination.
What do you mean?
Ask yourself, why am I growing this business?
Yeah.
What am I trying to achieve? Is it about more revenue, a bigger team, greater impact?
Know your end game before you start playing the game.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just growing for the sake of growth, and that can lead to some serious problems.
So growth needs to be strategic, aligned with your overall purpose.
And remember, growth always involves risk.
You can't play it safe if you want to make a real impact.
He's all about experimenting, building minimum viable products, getting customer feedback early on.
Don't be afraid to fail fast and learn from those failures.
He also says you got to be constantly innovating, disrupting yourself before someone else does.
Stay ahead of the curve. The business world moves fast.
Now, to build a scalable business, you got to have systems and processes in place.
Streamline that shit. You can't be doing everything yourself.
Exactly. Document your processes, train your team, delegate effectively.
That frees you up to focus on the big picture, the long-term vision.
Okay, let's talk about something no one likes to talk about, but is a reality of running a business. Firing people.
Yeah, letting someone go is never fun, but sometimes it's necessary.
He's got a practical approach to firing, calls it the 7 and 8 rule.
The 7 and 8 rule. Okay, I'm curious.
He says in any company, you'll have your 9s and 10s. Those are your rock stars, the top performer.
The ones who are, like, crushing it every single day.
Exactly. Those are your keepers, no question. Then you got your 7s and 8s.
The ones who are, like, almost there, but not quite.
Yep. They show potential, but aren't consistently delivering.
They're in that in-between zone. Tough call.
And he says, don't hold on to those 7s and 8s for too long, hoping they'll magically transform into 9s and 10s.
Why not? Give them a chance to improve, right?
It can actually demotivate your top performers. If they see that mediocrity is tolerated, they might start slacking off too.
Or worse, they might leave for a company that actually values their talent.
Exactly. So sometimes you gotta let those 7s and 8s go so they can find a better fit.
It sucks, but it's better for everyone in the long run.
And when you do have to fire someone, do it with empathy, honesty.
Don't be a dick about it.
Help them understand why it's not working out, maybe even help them find a role where they can thrive.
Okay, let's shift gears. Global expansion, taking your business beyond borders.
He's got a ton of experience with this, and he stresses strategic partnerships.
Find partners who already have a presence in the markets you want to enter.
Exactly. Leverage their expertise, their networks.
Minimize your risk. Learn from the best.
He also suggests exploring franchising models.
That's a great way to scale quickly without having to build everything from scratch.
And of course, leverage the power of online platforms and technology.
The internet has made it so much easier to reach a global audience.
All right, let's talk mentorship.
Everyone's always talking about finding a mentor, but does it really make a difference?
This entrepreneur has a slightly different take on mentorship.
I'm all ears.
He says what most people need isn't a long-term mentor, but someone who can answer their specific questions, provide targeted guidance.
So instead of searching for a Yoda-like figure to guide your entire journey, focus on finding experts who can help you with specific challenges.
Exactly. And he believes you can do this without having a formal mentor.
So how do you get your questions answered if you're not going the traditional mentorship route?
Online platforms, industry events, networking. Be resourceful.
And when you do reach out to people, be specific about what you need help with.
Don't just say, will you be my mentor? That's way too vague.
Hey, can you tell me how to build a billion-dollar business?
Exactly. Do your research, show them you're serious about learning.
If you're still set on finding a mentor, how do you approach it?
Do your research, understand their background, their expertise.
Make sure they're a good fit for you and your business.
He suggests framing the request as an invitation to join your advisory board.
That sounds way more official and appealing.
And leverage the power of referrals.
It's all about who you know.
And offer value to the person you're hoping to get mentorship from.
Don't just take, give.
Help them with a project, connect them with someone in your network.
Okay, let's talk equity, because this can be a confusing topic.
This guy breaks it down and offers some great insights.
Lay it on us.
First, he debunks a myth. Owning less than 50% of the company doesn't mean you lose control.
A lot of entrepreneurs get hung up on that 50% number.
He says control is actually determined by the shareholder agreement.
So you can structure the agreement to give yourself decision-making authority, even if you own less than half the company.
It's all about having the right legal framework in place.
What else should entrepreneurs know about equity?
Understand your long-term vision, how much equity you need to hold on to achieve your goals.
Don't give away too much too early, especially if you plan on raising more funding later on.
He also warns against uneven equity splits between co-founders in the early stages.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Have those conversations early, be open and honest, involve lawyers.
What about that thing called a cap table?
The cap table, or capitalization table, outlines the ownership structure of the company. It tracks who owns what and how equity gets diluted over time.
Sounds important.
Also, research different equity structures, share options, classes of shares.
It gets complicated quickly.
And consider alternative funding options like safes.
Safes.
Simple agreements for future equity. It's a way for investors to provide capital without having to determine the company's valuation up front.
So it simplifies things, especially for early-stage startups.
Now let's talk about the big one, selling your business.
The exit.
Yeah.
Cashing in on all that hard work.
He's got some counterintuitive advice for this. He says, the best way to sell your company is to not want to sell it at all.
Wait, what? don't want to sell it. How does that make sense?
When you're not desperate to sell, you're in a much stronger negotiating position. You can be picky about buyers, make sure you're getting a fair price.
So it's like dating. When you're not clingy, you're more attractive.
How do you create that I don't need to sell vibe?
I'm curious.
Build a business you love, a business that's profitable, a business you could see yourself running for years.
Focus on building something awesome and the buyers will come to you.
He also stresses building relationships with potential acquirers long before you're ready to sell.
Network, network, network.
What other exit strategies does he recommend?
Tell me everything.
He suggests considering mergers with competitors.
Merging with your rivals.
It can be a win-win.
How so?
You eliminate competition, increase market share.
Strengthen numbers.
He also mentions management buyouts.
Where your leadership team buys the company from you.
Yep, and he recommends working with reputable business brokers.
Get expert advice when you're navigating something as complex as selling a business.
Last piece of advice on selling: be transparent.
Honesty is the best policy.
Right. Don't try to hide anything. Be upfront about the financials, the challenges, the opportunities.
Builds trust.
We've covered a lot, from starting a business to selling it.
This entrepreneur has dropped some serious knowledge bombs.
He's challenged us to think differently about business. It's not just about profits. It's about purpose, passion, making a difference.
Building a legacy, not just a book account.
There's one more crucial topic we need to cover.
Avoiding mistakes, embracing luck, all that good stuff. So we've talked about all the things you can, control in business.
But what about the stuff you can't?
Exactly. Luck, fate, being in the right place at the right time. Our entrepreneur seems to have a pretty interesting take on all that.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Lay it on us.
He actually believes you can influence luck.
What? You can make your own luck.
He calls it hacking luck.
I love that. Hacking luck, it's like bending the universe to your will.
Right. He breaks it down into 3 key elements. First, persistence.
Never give up on your dreams.
No matter what. He uses Fluid, his first company, as an example. He outlasted so many competitors who just gave up.
They didn't have the same fire in their belly.
It's about believing in your vision, even when things get tough.
So passion is key. What's the second element of hacking luck?
Knowing your destination.
What's that mean?
Define your version of success. What does winning look like for you? It's different for everyone.
For some people, it's all about the money. For others, it might be about making a difference, having freedom, whatever.
Exactly. Figure out what truly matters to you and make sure your actions are taking you in that direction.
Don't chase someone else's definition of success. Create your own.
And the third element of hacking luck is taking calculated risks.
Don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone.
He warns against falling for that work hard, get lucky trap.
Yeah, I can see how that can be dangerous, working yourself to the bone without actually thinking strategically.
It's about working smart, not just hard. Being strategic about the risks you take.
So hustle is important, but you got to have a plan too.
Now, let's talk about avoiding mistakes, those classic entrepreneurial pitfalls.
We all make them, but some can be more costly than others.
He warns against building a business just to sell it.
Don't build a house just to flip it, right? You end up with a crappy house.
Focus on building something you're passionate about, something that solves a real problem, something that adds value.
What else is on his list of no-nos?
Neglecting your team and company culture.
That's huge. You got to surround yourself with amazing people and create an environment where they can thrive.
Company culture is the glue that holds everything together.
Any other big mistakes to avoid?
He says you got to understand the financial side of your business.
Yeah, numbers can be scary, but you can't just ignore them.
Learn about cash flow, profit margins, all that good stuff.
Or hire someone who does.
And don't neglect the legal side of things.
Contracts, agreements, get it all in writing.
Protect yourself.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
From starting a business with nothing to scaling it, getting funding, building a brand, hacking luck.
This entrepreneur has given us so much to think about.
He's challenged us to think differently about business.
It's not just about the money. It's about purpose, passion, making a difference.
It's about building a legacy.
So there you have it, folks. Decades of business wisdom condensed into this deep dive.
Hopefully you're leaving feeling inspired, ready to take action.
Here's a final thought. What's the one thing you're going to do differently to make your business dreams a reality?
Go out there and make it happen.
And don't forget to have some fun along the way. Thanks for tuning in, folks.